path. So I'm so grateful. My son went a couple of years to that camp as a teenager and came back transformed. It was truly, truly beautiful. Well, today the talk is the power of intention. And I think sometimes we forget, or maybe we just don't realize the power that our words have and the way that we can set ourselves up for success. And I think sometimes we're busy, we've got a job interview coming up and we're a little nervous and worried about it. And we're worried that we're not going to get the job. I think that's the big thing, right? So we got all this worry going on. And we walk into that meeting in that worried, frenzied state. Now, we may still have a good interview, but maybe it'll be a little choppy because we're not in a really clear headspace. Setting an intention in the morning, going, this interview is so great. I'm going to choose whether or not this is the right place for me, and they're going to choose if I'm the right person to fill the spot. And so I'm going to go in joyfully. I'm going to go in with a sense of adventure and excitement and a willingness and a curiosity to learn. And when we set an intention like that, we change the game altogether. Eckhart Tolle in Stillness Speaks wrote, when you pay more attention to what you do than to the future result you want to achieve by it, you break the old ego conditioning. Then your doing is not only much more effective, but infinitely more joyful and satisfying. So we want to look at, instead of looking at that end result, like Eckhart Tolle says, let's be in the moment. And when we're in the moment, we're in a place of real power and possibility. So again, those intentions, and we can set them just as we're getting ready to, walk into the interview. We don't have to do it after the fact. We can, as we're walking in, or before the fact, rather, I guess, we can walk in and go, okay, now what? And be curious and excited about what this process could mean for you and what it does mean moving forward. So when we think about the creative process, when we think about how we do things and the results that we get, it's a little bit like planting seeds in the spring. Now, the spring equinox in the Northern Hemisphere is the beginning of spring. It's a time to sow the seeds that will blossom later. And we're going to look at how we can align with this energy of spring and the creative process and consciously sow new intentions, free of the ego, but rooted in gratitude. So what we want to do is imagine, so when you go out and plant your garden, you're going to prepare the soil. You're going to put the seeds in, you're going to cover them over, you're going to water it well, and it's going to be in a location that's suitable to that particular plant. So it might have full sun or part sun, but all of these things together are going to feed this seed and bring it into its full expression, right? So when we plant those seeds, this is like setting an intention. We plant a seed idea in mind, and then the universe is working on it, and ta-da, it manifests. And we all have lots of stories that can actually prove that point. But when it comes to planting your garden, one of the challenges is if you go out in 3 days and you dig it up, going, okay, what's happening? You're never going to get what you planted in the end, because every day you're going out and you're disrupting the process. You're not believing in what needs to happen. So we know that if we plant a seed, it's going to grow. We know that. That's kind of how it works. And that we will, if we plant carrot seeds, we're going to have carrots in the fall. But if we go out and dig them up every other day, we're not going to have anything. We're just going to have a garden full of dirt and maybe a few weeds if we're not pulling those out. So we want to pay attention. When we set an intention, we want to be clear about what we're setting. I am, and answer that with something really positive and exciting. So I am an excellent employee. I am the best at what I do. Everything I do creates success and grace and goodness for everyone involved. Then we go into the interview feeling really good about ourselves, feeling really excited about the process and curious about what this job means, so that we can ask informed questions that will allow us to find out more about the company. And is it a good fit for us? Just because they offer us the job doesn't mean it's the right one for us. So again, we want to explore what we're doing and make sure that we take the time to allow the seeds we've planted to grow. Somebody once said, when you settle for less than you really want, you get less than you settled for. Did you catch that? When you settle for less than what you really want, you get less than you settled for. So the key here is to set a clear intention and then to allow it to come to fruition. Now, what that means is every day and every way, you're going to listen to that still small voice, and you're going to begin to take steps in the direction of this higher fulfillment. And you're not going to settle for something less. So something might come along going, oh, hey, check this out. Oh, okay, let me do that. And all of a sudden, everything we've done, our intention that was set, is broken because we've now decided to go in a different direction than what we intentionally had decided previously. When we do this, or when we set an intention and then an hour later go, oh yeah, that'll never happen. That's too big a dream. That's never going to manage it. So that won't occur. Then we're allowing ourselves to undo again what we had done in the beginning. It's like going out and digging up the seeds. So set an intention that sounds like you. So when I started studying the science of mind, this was back in 1993. And when I started studying, I had the idea immediately that I would be a minister. And so I went to my teacher, probably, I don't know, just a couple classes in, and said, I'm going to be a minister in this teaching. And she just looked at me and went, yeah, right. She said, well, if you're going to do that, you're going to have to start a center because nobody's going to hire you straight out of ministerial school. And I thought, okay, I'll start one in Toronto. There isn't one there. And she just looked at me like, yeah, whatever. So I went through all the training, which took 5 years, did all the training, graduated in 98. And then, I don't know, it just wasn't happening to come here right away. And so I ended up going to Vernon, BC to look after the church there, to be their senior minister. And it was the perfect way to get to Toronto. I know it doesn't sound like it, but it was from Calgary to Vernon, BC to Toronto, Ontario. But what was perfect about it is it gave me 18 months of doing ministry, of figuring out what on earth a minister actually does, and then coming to a place of realization where it was time to move to Toronto. And I got that moment of realization while I was at a conference in Long Beach, where all of a sudden, like a freight train, this idea came blasting through going, and I was journaling at the time. And what I wrote was time to go to Toronto. And I burst into tears going, oh no, I can't do this. And it's like, yeah, you can, and you will. And I moved to Toronto in July. Now, the intention had been very, very clear. It took 7 years for it to manifest. But that's the key, is we keep the intention alive. People would ask, oh, what about Toronto? Well, yeah, I'm still going there. Still going there. Even when they hired me for Vernon, they knew that I wouldn't be there forever. Like they were clear about that. But they were happy to have me for the length of time they did. So what happens is we set intentions and then we follow the path. Now, the path might seem a bit, circular or a little bit west than east, or, it might seem a little confusing, and that's okay. It is what it is. If you were flying a plane from here to Europe, you're going to be off course most of the time. And so it's always about correcting the course or moving in the direction that is being called for. So our intentions need to be clear. It needs to be something we're passionate about. It needs to bring us joy. to think about it. And as we work on those intentions and as we set them clearly, I intend, or I am starting a center in Toronto, which, we did in the year 2000. We started the first CSL here. And we did well. We were at the Bloor Cinema and we were serving popcorn at service. Some people liked it. Some people were annoyed by it. But we would serve popcorn with our name and stuff on the label. And it was fun. It was really fun to be there. And our very first service, we had 35 people in attendance, and it grew from there. The energy that we bring to the work that we do, there has to be an excitement. There has to be a passion. If we are joyful in our work, we will never work a day in our lives. Every time we start doing that thing that we do, there'll be excitement, there'll be joy, there'll be a sense of comfort, like, yeah, here I am. So for the last 25 years, this is what I've been doing. Whether it's at CSL or at Unity or at UFBL, I have done nothing but ministry for the last 25 years. Now, I did work one part-time job in that time. When I moved to Toronto, I started working for the city of Toronto for one of the city councilors in her office as an admin person. And I worked there for 4 months while the center was, getting to the point where it could actually give me a paycheck. The journey that we're on is not about the end result. It's about the journey itself. And when we set an intention, we can begin to walk that journey much more comfortably and peacefully and begin to see the road maps along the way, or the little stop signs or road signs that say, go this way or that. And when we pay attention to those things, we end up with this incredible harvest down the road. And just like in our gardens where we're pulling out the weeds and we're making sure the soil's good, we're watering, making sure that there's some sun, all that good stuff. While we're doing that, that's what we're doing with our intentions of our work experience or a relationship experience or whatever it is. So we want to make sure that as we move along, we're doing so with a real sense of excitement. This is what I want to do. So when I moved here in July of 2000, I had $40 in my pocket. I had 2 suitcases of summer clothes. I had a one-way ticket to Hamilton because WestJet didn't fly into Toronto yet. And I had, a place, somebody's couch to sleep on in the beach area of Toronto when I arrived. I didn't know anybody here. I knew one person who lived in Oakville, but I knew no one in Toronto proper. A friend of mine, also a minister, graduated at the same time, came with me, and the 2 of us started this center. Not this one, but the previous one. And it was powerful to watch how quickly things came together, how quickly we managed to get to a point where we could be paid. It was a small bit, but we got paid to do this job. And the excitement that was there, the joy that was there, it was like this big dream was finally realized. And I'd had that dream for a long time. It was 7 years in the making. But here's the thing, it's not about how long it takes. It's about being patient and willing to do what's in front of us, realizing that what's in front of me is actually taking me to my dream. So if it's a stop sign, then I need to take a look, right, left, what's my next step? Because maybe the next step is a little to the right or a little to the left. Whatever it is, we need to follow those impulses, follow that sense of, yes, I'm in the right place. And when everything stops, to really sit in that and go, now what? What is my intention? And is it sharp and clear? Or have I been a little wishy-washy? Have I sat back and went, well, my intention is this, but, oh, look, that happened. Squirrel. I don't know how many people know that reference, but, it's like the idea of being distracted from the purpose that we set. And when we set that purpose, we need to, just like our garden, once it's planted, leave it planted. Pull out the weeds when they come up. Make sure you water it, but don't go in and dig up those seeds. Sometimes we have this big dream and we'll have it for a little while and it doesn't manifest. And then we go, well, wasn't meant to be. Yeah. If it's your intention, if you're passionate about it, you're not going to give up at the first roadblock. You're going to look around and go, okay, I need to reassess. There's obviously something that I need to change in the way I'm doing things. So let me see what that is. And when we ask the question, we get answers. You can ask a question at nighttime and go to bed, go to sleep, and in the morning go ding, 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 and there's your answer. Like, wow, how'd that happen? Again, we set an intention. I'm asking this question because my subconscious mind knows who I am, knows my passion, my purpose, knows me probably better than my conscious mind does. So we want to make sure that whatever we're doing, we create that clear intention. And if we don't know, if we're sitting back going, I don't know what I want to do, I don't know where I'm headed, I don't know, then sit back and do treatment. Set an intention for clarity. I am clear with who I am, what I love, and where I'm headed. That's it. Start every day with that. Start every day with that. And watch how the day unfolds and the answers that come, but we have to pay attention to them when they come. And people often ask me, well, how do you know if it's your ego speaking or if it is that subconscious coming to life? And the answer is simple, actually. When it is from that still small voice, from that heart space, it will be a positive thing. It will harm no one. And it will be in your highest and best good. But it will be positive. It won't step on somebody else to get there. It'll be something that happens quite organically and beautifully and easily. Like when I got here, I was here for a couple of weeks, went out door knocking with a city councilor because I thought, got nothing else to do till this thing gets running. And it'd be a great way to see the neighborhood. So I went out door knocking with her and I did that twice. And she hired me to work for her in her office. So it was like I was here and she knew what I was doing. Like she knew that I was starting the center and she was like, yeah. And then when we started getting paid in January, I went in and I said, I'll give you 2 weeks notice. She said, you don't have to do that. It's fine. She said, you told me what you were doing. And now that you're on your feet, off you go. So it was really exciting to have that kind of support where I wasn't required to, do a lot more than what I had the bandwidth for. So when we're clear, that's when things begin to happen. So sometimes we have to do a little introspection, really sit back and take time with ourselves to disconnect from everything that's going on and begin to look at what do I need? What is necessary? How do I move forward in this? And just to become very observant of what's happening in your life. Be really clear. Don't be afraid to, look at something that's a bit difficult or painful. Be vulnerable, step into it. Allow it to open up and reveal its multitude of gifts. The joy that we have in facing what's going on is absolutely remarkably powerful. So I invite you to really get clear about who you are and then allow yourself to go there. What we don't want to do is spiritual bypass. We don't want to pretend everything's okay. So when we look at the world of effects, everything is constantly changing and it's not always pleasant or logical, as we know. And so when we're searching for spiritual answers, it can be common to turn around the bad that happens in the world because it hurt and find ourselves doing spiritual bypass where we go, everything is fine. No, it's not. Everything isn't fine. It just is what it is. So when we can allow ourselves to sit in our discomfort, sit in that place of, I set my intention and now I'm here, like, how come I haven't? Because I had those questions, when I started working in Vernon. I'm like, why am I here? Like, I don't get why I'm here. My intention was to go straight to Toronto. Why am I here? And I don't know, maybe I needed to prove to my teacher that somebody would hire me straight out of ministerial school. I'm not sure. I don't think that was it. I think I just needed to learn some things. So the universe put me in the perfect place. And when I got there and when I started working there, I actually had my first service on my 42nd birthday, which was very cool to show up at this place and just be there. Now, the other thing is, when I got back from being interviewed with them, there was 3 ministers that were vying for the position. When I got back, I knew it was mine. I quit my job and put my date of my last day of work as 2 days prior to them voting at the center for who their new minister would be. I quit the house I was living in. I gave my notice for the 15th, which was 2 days after the vote at the center. And I was just really clear it was my job, that they were going to hire me, no question. And I didn't really doubt that at all until the day of the vote. And I didn't go to the center that day, the center in Calgary. I stayed home by the phone. I'm not sure why. BC is, an hour behind us time-wise. But it was that, that kind of anxiety of, oh no, no, no. And then waiting for, their service to end, and then they were going to have the vote. And I get a call just shortly after, I think it was shortly after 1:00. And it was the board president. And they knew my birthday was coming up. And so they started singing Happy First Day. And they told me that it was a unanimous vote, that everybody had voted yes. So the journey that we're on sometimes takes these little side trips. It's just like when you're flying somewhere, you're constantly correcting the path because things go in different directions depending on the weather or whatever. And so it is with our lives, that things are moving and changing so quickly and so constantly that we have to reassess and readjust sometimes. And by allowing ourselves to do that, instead of sitting in the, why is this happening to me, in the place of, okay, now what? Something good is here. What do I need to do? Where do I need to go? So it's really, really important to allow yourself to sit in whatever's going on. If you're having a painful experience, just know that this too will change. Everything changes. Everything changes. Just look around. We've gone from fall, we went into winter. Now spring is around the corner, and we're starting to see signs of new life. Well, we can do that in our own lives too. We can see that new life happening, remembering that our life too has seasons. We have seasons of robust creativity and growth, and we have seasons of peacefulness and comfort and relaxation, and we have seasons where we rest. The winters of our life where we rest. And it's not like something isn't happening, because below the soil, something's happening. These trees are not dead. In another few weeks, they'll start to bud out, and then the leaves will come up and we'll be into spring fully. The tulips and the daffodils blooming in our gardens, because there's something going on underneath. And it's the same thing with us. Within the subconscious, there is an energy that's working, the divine working to bring about what it is that we've set the intention for. And everything happens when we pay attention. And so then I just want to touch on gratitude briefly, because being grateful for what is, whether we like it or not, but just being grateful, we start to find that life returns to us more and more beautiful things to be grateful for. So it's important that we allow ourselves to look at what's going on, good, bad, or indifferent, and just go, wow, I am so grateful. I'm alive. I have a roof over my head. I do work that I love with people that I love. Like, how does it get any better than that? So this journey is one of awakening. It is a journey of expansion and possibility. It is a journey of living our best lives. And we have the ability to do that. So we have plenty to be grateful for. Plenty. Gratitude opens the door to positive feelings like happiness, joy, love. It allows us to really feel and experience those things, which allows us to move forward. So I want to invite you at this particular time to set intentions, really do some introspection, take a look at where you are, where you want to go, and be clear that where you want to go is something you really, really want, something you truly desire. Let's not set small ones. Einstein said, if at first the idea is not absurd, there is no hope for it. Come up with a beautiful, absurd idea and make it happen. Thank you.